Uh, on paper where the story's told, facts and truth, the legend grows. Lionheart's here with fire to spit. It's on paper with Anthony Smith.
With Anthony Smith.
Welcome back to On Paper. I am Kelly Murphy. More importantly, that is my co-host, UFC light heavyweight, ultimate girl dad, Anthony Smith. Anthony, how the hell are you doing?
I'm good. Back from LA finally. It was a really long week. Yeah, went in on Monday. Not all the pay-per-view weeks are that long, and all the fight nights I typically go in Thursday night. So I flew in Monday, and it was just really long. So it was a good week. Everything went well. The fights were incredible. The arena was awesome. But it was just a long week for sure.
Why is the LA week like that? I feel like consistently, since I've known you at least, every time you're out there for LA, it's at least a week out.
Yeah, it's just so busy. It's just there's so much media to do. There's so many things we can film, so many different opportunities just to get content in. And LA historically always has really, really big fight cards. So I think that, the UFC does it big. And so big fight cards, big feel comes lots of media and lots of content.
Fair enough. How's it going out in Omaha now? Do you guys get any snow?
Oh my God, it's so cold. It's like 7 below right now. It is free. No, and I don't get it. There's we haven't got a lot of snow. Like it's flurried here and there, but I got this side by side and I got this big fancy plow put on it and I'm just ready to plow the neighborhood. And it's just hasn't snowed. It makes me so mad because I hate when it's this cold and there's no snow. It seems super pointless. My home is good. My kids are getting sick. So we got some funky bug running through the house. So that's awesome. So there's that. They didn't have school today, so that's cool. Yeah, it's good. Happy to be home. I'm excited to get back to another week.
All right. Well, we have a lot to get to.
How was your weekend?
How was my weekend? I would say thank you for asking, but it was very stressful. I moved, so different background. Second episode, different backgrounds for both of us. You were in your hotel, now you're home. I was in my apartment.
Where'd you move to?
I am back on Long Island for the time being until I buy something back up in Westchester.
Oh, okay.
So my entire weekend was spent packing, working, moving, and it did snow in New York. I certainly do not have the plow, and I wouldn't plow for my whole neighborhood even if I did. So stuck inside.
How long are you going to be back at your mom's for?
You don't have to word it like that. For the masses, I am back at my parents for the time being.
Listen, it's fine. Like you're just hanging out in your mom's basement doing an internet radio show or something.
Not in the basement. I'm on the main floor.
You got a main floor spot. Okay. All right. We're moving up.
I'm on the main floor. Hopefully not for too long. I'm just trying to find the right thing. It's going to be my first purchase. It's got to be right.
Nice.
I don't want to do no work because
we'll tell your mom I said
I don't do work. Of course I will.
There we go.
She's literally was perched upstairs waiting to say hello already. But let's get into UFC 311. We have a lot to get to. A little bit later in the program, Ray Longo is going to join us, which I'm super excited about. My fellow Long Island.
Ray Longo.
Oh, he's the best. And we'll dive into that Merab fight because he looked amazing. But let's start with the main event and the elephant in the room, because last time we recorded, we were planning on watching Islam Makhachev take on Arman Tsarukyan in the main event of UFC 311. Obviously, we did not see that. We saw Renato Moicano step up just about 24 hours out. And you were working for ESPN at the time, so you were kind of seeing all of the craziness. Like, what was going on behind the scenes as the news was coming out?
Well, when things like this happen, we had just gotten to the arena to start filming UFC Live and the UFC pre-show. And when things like this happen, you can kind of tell there's something going on because everyone in the back, when you show up, all the production people, all the UFC employees, even all the production people on the ESPN side, it's very everyone's very frantic and they're kind of, everyone's running around and it's a little bit tight-lipped and like everyone knows something's going on, but no one really knows. There's like maybe a handful of people that know what's going on. Okay. And then people started saying that there was some rumblings on Twitter that initially that Tsarukyan was out and wasn't going to be fighting. There was no real indication of who he was going to fight. there wasn't a whole lot of rumblings what was going on there or rumors yet. But again, this is at like, I was going on TV at noon. This is at like 10:45, and we still didn't know. So we knew Dana was making some sort of announcement at 11 p.m. Pacific time, and then it was probably pretty clear that Arman Tsarukyan wasn't going to fight, but we didn't really know what was going to happen. I assumed just by kind of looking at the card and seeing what was possible, you weren't going to fly anybody in. No one was going to be able to make weight. I assumed they wanted to save a title fight. I guessed that it was going to be Hanato, just, by looking at the card and who was available and what weight class they were in. But then it depends on what they weigh in at. And then we looked, and both Tsarukyan and Beneil Dariush both weighed 155 pounds. So I think that there was probably some ideas that was going to happen prior to anyone else really knowing what was going on. So yeah, it was wild. And then Dana made the announcement, and we rolled on business as usual. It really creates a lot of work for guys like John Anik, who's already voiced over a lot of stuff. He's already done a lot of the locker room stuff. So he's got to go back and, that's a handful of hours of more work for him.
And the production team with the packages, everything that you're about to see on your screen has to get remade.
For sure. So that's who it creates a lot of work for. For us, we just pivot and we just talk about a different fight. It's fairly simple.
Fair enough. So we obviously saw Islam Makhachev take on Renato Moicano. Props to both guys. A lot of people are giving Renato Moicano props, as you should. 24 hours notice, taking on the number one pound for pound fighter in the world. But also props to Islam Makhachev. You are the reigning champion, and you too are taking on a different opponent in 24 hours. And it, just like the UFC, business as usual. Islam Makhachev said we had to put a title fight on, and here we are. So props to both guys. We ultimately see Islam Makhachev get the Darce in round one. And every time I watch this guy fight, he just gets better and better. What did you see from him? And not a big sample size, but what did you see from Islam on Saturday?
Yeah, his mindset was fascinating. How it's just, if I'm the best guy in the world, if I'm the champion, then I have to be able to beat everybody in the division. That's an interesting mindset. We've seen other guys and other champions in the division not do the same thing. We've seen John Jones refuse to take a fight with Chael Sonnen on short notice because he wasn't quite ready. And I'm not even knocking John for that, because I have a tough time blaming him for that. But Islam just rolls with the punches. He fought Volkanovski on like 10 days notice. He believes that he can beat anybody in the world in his weight class, and he proves it every single time. Technically, he's magical to watch. And I thought Renato actually looked really good on his feet early. He looked sharper than he had looked in a long time. He looked more confident and more aggressive on his feet than he's looked in a while. And maybe that comes with just having nothing to lose. So you just go out there and just not throw caution to the wind, but kind of just let it go.
Sure. So
I thought that was impressive, even on his approach. And to be as dangerous as Renato is on the ground, he's really, really good. Moicano is nasty on the ground. And Islam just makes all these really decorated grapplers look really bad. I mean, Charles Oliveira, very, very good on the ground, very dangerous. Islam had no problem jumping right into that kind of, I guess, shark-infested waters, as most people would probably explain it, and had no issue there, had a quick tap. Islam must have a nasty squeeze, because both those guys almost panic tap.
Mm-hmm.
Like
they said on the broadcast.
It's a panic tap. And so I can only imagine what that squeeze feels like. I think Demetrius Johnson has kind of been talking about it a little bit, because he got caught in that same submission. Even the way he does it is kind of interesting. Most people go to a Darce and it's kind of like a figure four with your hand in the, kind of in the bend of your elbow. And he goes to the wrist and then kind of pinches his elbow and squeezes. Like, I don't even know if I'd be able to do it that way, because there's so much space and you'd have to have so much chest squeeze and be able to just actually physically squeeze it. The idea of a Darce is kind of by figure fouring it with your arm, and then you find the right angle. You don't have to really squeeze that much. It's kind of more of an angle and a blood choke, but he just does it different. It's kind of interesting. I'm excited to get back to the gym and try it. Yeah, it was crazy. And then you could tell he was a bit annoyed afterwards. I think Umar Nurmagomedov losing probably has a little bit to do with that, which I think the mindset of that is even crazier. Like, we see this a lot where teammates will lose, and then you got to go next, and it throws off the whole vibe of the locker room, and you're trying to not be sad, but you're also trying, like, you want to be you know, I don't know, you want to feel for your teammate, but you got to worry about yourself. It's a weird place to be in when a teammate loses right before you. So for him to be able to shut that off, go in, dominate, look absolutely incredible, and then, you know, cut a promo afterwards, he's the full package for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the broadcast said something similar. Not that nervous is the wrong word, but there was maybe a different energy surrounding Islam on his walk and maybe during the fight. And then afterwards, they used the word relief. Did you think that there was anything to that? Maybe because of the Umar situation? I know Khabib was certainly disappointed, and he's in both guys' corners, and he's got to just minutes later flip that switch from Umar lost. All right, now it's time to get Islam ready for his title fight.
I think every fighter has a bit of relief.
Sure.
And maybe he just wasn't in a great position to hide it,
Yeah,
as he typically would, and go right into being the promotional side of his personality. But I like to think that every fighter is relieved when it's over. Like, you're relieved you didn't get hurt. You're relieved that you got out of there with a win. You're relieved that, you know, you can move on and you can stop worrying about it and thinking about it.
right.
So yeah, maybe, and I got that from him a little bit. Again, I really felt for Moicano too.
Me too.
You know, you have a totally different style that you're preparing for, and then you get thrown into the boogeyman of the division. Your back's against the wall, and for him to kind of just say, all right, fuck it, let's just go and figure this out. I give him a lot of credit for that. That's that's an inspiring thing he did there.
Well, that's probably the first time, ultimately, when the tap happened, that he could feel everything. Because within 24 hours, go from fighting Beneil Dariush to taking on a last-minute title fight of the first pay-per-view of the year against the number one pound-for-pound guy in the division. So now you're ultimately switching your game plan, trying to get yourself as mentally ready as you possibly could in such a short amount of time. And it's certainly not enough time to get yourself there for Islam Makhachev. And then the fight happens, and I think the second it ends is probably the first time he could process everything. And you could see the disappointment on his face, and he took to social media and spoke about it. He said that it wasn't 24 hours. He's always ready for a championship opportunity, but he seems to be back to his normal self. He's going back and forth with Patty Pimblett on X, which I love to see out of Hanato. But let's get back to Islam Makhachev. Not a whole lot of fight to break down, but what we can talk about is what next for him. So the speculation was, will Arman Tsarukyan slot back in to a title fight when he is healthy enough to return? Dana's exact quote is, he's not getting a title shot. That means he's going to have to fight his way back to the title. What's your take on that?
I'm not surprised that's the route that Dana took. And listen, people are going to call me a UFC homer and you know that I'm the shill, but there's no questions on what the UFC expects from you. Like, we as fighters know what Dana and Mick and Hunter and Sean expect out of us. If you're a guy that makes waves or has made waves at times, you are gonna have to do things to make up for that. That's just how it goes. I've had to do it myself. Like, there's a give and a take in this sport. You can't just be the one that's the squeaky wheel all the time and then expect to always have a favor done for you. And I'm not ever going to insinuate that Arman wasn't as hurt as he says he was, or that, you know, there was other things going on. Like Dana said, he's the only one that knows if he could have went. But sometimes you're just a victim of circumstance. And this is kind of like the third time that he's not making it super easy.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think a big enough deal got made out of when he punched that fan on the way to the octagon. Like, internally, that's a big deal. We didn't make that big of a deal of it in the media, and there wasn't that many articles written about it. And but internally, that was a big deal. Like, as an athlete, we're not allowed to strike people on the way out. And I know the security could have done a better job at times, or the event security, not the UFC security, because they do great, but like maybe the event security could have done a better job dealing with that. But you can't just haul off and hit a fan on your way to there's a lot of liability there. So again, internally, that was a big deal. And as fighters, we've heard about it since and gotten our own warnings and whatever. And then, you know, he takes this deal with the Nevada Athletic Commission, I believe, and I don't believe he did excuse me. I think he was supposed to do an apology that was going to shorten his suspension. And then I don't believe he ended up doing that. So then there's a couple issues there. And then I know that when in that fight, as soon as they fought Oliveira, I believe he said, I want to fight for the title. This is my opportunity. Then when he leaves the octagon, he gets the opportunity. Again, I'm not going to fault him.
Sure.
They asked him to do like a 5-week turnaround for Islam, and he doesn't take the opportunity after saying that's what he wants. Now, again, I'm not going to fault him for that. But again, it's these little small things. If one of those things happens just by itself, then it's probably no big deal. But like the things keep starting to pile up a little bit. And then that's how Dustin Poirier got his title shot with Islam. So, now they get all the way there. They're in LA. It's got this huge, he's super popular in LA. I think that's part of the reason they did it there, because he is a big draw there.
Sure.
The UFC spends millions and millions of dollars on marketing and promotion. And then, I don't know, you give the illusion that you're not trustworthy right now. I don't believe that that's the case. I think he was as hurt as he says he was. And I totally agree with his decision to not fight the number one pound for pound guy in the world when you're not as close to 100% as you can be. Nobody's 100%, but you want to be as close as you can get.
I mean, for a guy like that, yeah.
Yeah, but, like these things happen. And so now you found yourself, and if he's as good as he says he is, and I suspect that he is, he'll have to fight again, and he'll probably win, and then he'll fight for a title.
So it's hard because, again, I don't fault the UFC and their decision making. Like they're going to do what they've always done, but I can't say as a fan that I'm not disappointed, because we talked about it last week. Maybe Arman goes in there injury or not and gets dusted. Like, we don't know. Islam Makhachev is a fantastic fighter. We've said it countless times just in this episode alone. Number one pound for pound guy in the world. But it was the first stylistic matchup that I was excited for in a very long time for Islam Makhachev. So again, I don't think
it's the first guy that Sarukian is the first guy since the last time they fought that will wrestle him offensively, that will threaten him there, that's already showed that he can scramble and be competitive in those positions while they're grappling. And it seems like they're very well matched there.
Right.
I think that they're both very, very good strikers. I think that I might even give Sarukian the edge, and just, if they were in a kickboxing match, I'd probably favor Arman Sarukian.
Sure.
Wrestling is competitive. Jiu-jitsu is competitive. They're kind of their MMA grappling in terms of the ground and pound and control is competitive. That's the part that makes it so frustrating, because this is the guy that we wanted to see, because we think that this is the guy that's going to push Islam to the absolute max. It's Volkanovski did it, but we weren't expecting it to happen like that.
Exactly.
Like, we expected Volkanovski was going to be the one that was going to win most of the striking exchanges, and Islam was going to be the one that won the grappling exchanges. And what we ended up getting was both guys were more successful in the other guy's area than we thought they were going to be.
Crazy.
And it became a really, really good fight in that first one. But now you also have a guy that I think matches all of those things that Islam does very, very well. He's going to be competitive and push him there, but he also matches him athletically. Like, that's something that I don't think Islam Makhachev gets enough credit for. I think he's an incredible athlete. Like, if you really look at him, he's built kind of like a machine. Like, he's not super jacked and crazy cut, but if you really take a look at him, like, he's really, really lean. He's really big for the weight class. And it's almost like he's built for this. He's just the way he moves, his speed, his reaction times. He's got God-given power in his hands, because we've seen him hurt people before. But I think Sarukian, obviously, that guy looks like he's made out of stone. So I think athletically and physically, Arman Sarukian can do something that Volkanovski wasn't able to, and that was to match him athletically.
He obviously has the size that Volkanovski didn't either.
For sure.
So that's what I'm saying. For me, if you want to put the best possible fight together right now, it's Islam Makhachev versus Arman Sarukian. Obviously, that's why we were supposed to see it on Saturday. Clearly, that's not going to happen because Dana said so. So if not Arman, who next for Islam?
I don't even know.
Right?
I don't even know. I mean, maybe Charles. It would probably have to be Charles. Right. I don't know who else it would be right now. Yeah, it would probably have to be Charles. I mean, that's that. I mean, maybe you wait until that Dan Hooker Justin Gaethje thing plays itself out, and then make that, and then maybe the winner of that
which we'll certainly get to later.
Right.
Everyone's about to find out how big of a Justin Gaethje fan I am.
I didn't even want to talk about it. And I love Justin Gaethje, but you make me not want to even talk about Justin Gaethje.
That's fair.
Your love for him is disgusting.
No, it's vile.
He's a man, not some just piece of meat.
No.
He's got feelings.
I have respect for him. I think he's a fantastic fighter. Listen, we'll get to it. We have a lot more to get to before we get to that. But I can't say that I will not get up for a Charles Oliveira fight. He is one of my favorite fighters. He's so slick, so exciting to watch. And if it is Islam and Charles, I will certainly be very excited for it.
Yeah, I'll watch it for sure. And maybe Charles has made the adjustments and has been working on what he needs to work on there. The Sarukian fight gives me some pause because he struggled with some of the wrestling and grappling exchanges that Islam is absolutely going to be capable of doing at the same level that Sarukian is. But I mean, who knows? We'll see. It's a different fight. Each one is different.
All right. We bring in our first official guest of On Paper with Anthony Smith. I don't have like a special prize for you or anything, but we are so excited to have you. We're so lucky. The one and only Ray Longo. How are you, Ray?
I'm doing really good, thanks. Coming off a great weekend, I better be good.
The first one.
Yeah.
I should have brought you a gift. That's what I should have done.
Oh shoot. I'll tell you what, before we even get going, I want to say one thing before I forget too. I listened to your after fight analysis.
Oh no.
I tell you, you said something that is definitely true. Whoever's going to beat him has to have that like zapping power, or I think it was something to that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other way. And I'll be honest with you, because the only reason I'm bringing it up is when I looked at Umar, I just didn't think he had it. Like O'Malley does have it,
mm-hmm.
but he's got to get it there too. Which for when you don't have the takedown defense, is going to make it a little harder. But it's going to have to be something coming out of nowhere. He's out of position. You're not going to stop him unless you kill him. And he's having too much fun now, so. Combine that with a good gas tank. Good luck.
Merab is such an interesting character for me, right? Because when you take him away from the rest of the world and then you just break down like the way we do, he reminds me of Dricus Du Plessis a little bit, where when I take Du Plessis and I pull him away from everything else, and then you just start breaking down his game and you're like, all right, I'm just going to look at his striking, or I'm just going to look at his wrestling. Okay, well, how's his jiu-jitsu? If you look at it like that, you're just like, oh man, it just doesn't look right. It just doesn't look right. I've had to learn through Dricus Du Plessis that I need to adjust the way that I'm looking at fights and look at it less about the technical aspect of it and say, all right, on paper in black and white, is this correct? Not always. Not always. It's not how I would teach it, or it's not how you would probably teach it.
Definitely to a beginner. Definitely
but
not.
Is it effective? And I think if it works, it's right. And that's kind of what I had to learn with Du Plessis and what I'm starting to learn with Merab. And I had a little bit of pause in this fight with Umar. And I think what I let happen was I let what the other guys in the division, how they react about him and how they talk about it, or how they refuse to talk about him. They don't want to fight him. They don't want to be in there with him. And then Merab's almost begging to be in there. But I thought it was less about what he's seen with Umar and more about him trying to prove something to everyone else. And I like when you're looking at these two guys and you see Umar, who's never been out wrestled in any scenario ever. He's a fantastic striker, really clean, crazy fast counters. Like as a coach, when you look at Merab's style and game, how do you when you put those two together, what's the first thing you think when you start breaking that fight down?
Well, you gave me a lot to go. First off,
I did. Sorry.
The out wrestle. Who do he wrestle? Who do he fight that was a good wrestler?
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
I'm not. But let me get back to something, Anthony. You'll love this story. So Du Plessis, Dricus, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. Like during COVID, they would say, "Oh, Du Plessis, Dricus." I told Weidman, get that fight. I don't think you could lose. I swear to God. We were talking about during COVID. I'm with you. I don't see it at all. And then I will never bet against this guy again. I did it for like 3 fights. It's like, again, is it effective? And I think the problem we have, and I get it with Merab too, he's not the prettiest guy to look at all. But we're used to looking at just boxing, and we know what good boxing looks at, and that's a high level in the U.S. and all over the place at this point. But when it comes to MMA, I guess the fact that you might be taken down, you might get kicked in the head, it changes everything. So you don't have to be as it helps, but you don't have to be as technically savvy. And with a guy like Merab, what he lacks technically, he makes up threefold in balls, heart, cardio. It just overrides everything. He's got a good chin, and he does hit hard. Is his delivery system the best? Not the best, but it's getting there. He's working on it. He's always growing. He's always getting better. And I think what happened with Merab is they tried to kill this guy. You know, they gave him a who's who of champions and good quality. And, you know, they tried to kill him. And in the process of doing this, his momentum, his confidence, he kept winning and growing. Now they're stuck with they're stuck with the Frankenstein monster. He's not stopping. And if you don't do what you said about being able to get him out of there with one punch, or good luck, you're not going to outwork him. It's impossible at this point. I'm starting to think he's not human, and I know him for 15 years.
Yeah, we talked about this on the desk, and they kept saying, well, what makes Merab different? Why is, you know, how do you get your cardio to that point? I said, listen, guys, I wish I had something black and white that I could just tell you, like, you got to do this, you got to go here, you got to, you know, get on this machine, do it for this long.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Some people are just born different.
Yeah.
He's just, he's different than the rest of us.
Listen, I think he was born different. Here's the deal. Since day one, Anthony, he was always he'd do an hour on the treadmill after everybody was leaving the gym. He is that guy. It's a cliche. The first guy in, last guy out. He's always doing it. So he's been doing this forever. It's not anybody you ask him, anybody from 15 years ago, 12 years, whatever it is, that guy was always crazy. I mean, if Aljo was getting ready for a fight and he had to spar him, Merab would be in there doing 3 rounds before Aljo even got in there. And I remember Aljo going to me one day, is he fucking with me right now? Like, he's doing 3 rounds. Like, I'm the champ. Hey, what the, like, it's crazy. That's who he is. He loves what he's doing. So when you take genetics, you work hard at your cardio, and here's the key factor. You love what you do, and you're not going to get stressed out no matter what. It makes for superhuman cardio. You could be a marathon runner, right? He's not lasting around. So his cardio is good, but he's stressing out. He doesn't like to get hit. Oh, I'm afraid of this. I look bad in the crowd. The guy starts short-circuiting themselves. He's not that guy. And he's got the chops to back it up.
So I think you made a really good point where he got all these absolute monsters thrown at him. And in the process, because I said this on the desk after the fight, there was a time, because as fight fans, we love to see friends fight, the Rashad and John Jones thing, and fans love that. But there was a point where he was getting the John Fitch treatment. Nobody wanted to watch him fight. They were throwing all these monsters at him. They didn't even really want Aljo they didn't want to watch Merab and Aljo fight. No one even cared. Yeah. And now there is an absolute superstar that has gotten built, but it's gotten built over beating guys like O'Malley and Piotr Jan and Jose Aldo. And I mean, and he fights the hardest possible way to fight. It's just foot on the gas and go and just walk through hell. Has it changed him much as a person? Like when you see him behind the scenes and it's just regular Merab in the gym, it's the same guy.
Man, 100%. That guy will never change. You know, that's never happening. I could be wrong, but it's never happened. You know, it's like, I remember having a conversation with Matt like a bunch of years ago, but I go, dude, they dropped 10 million on each of us. We're not doing anything different. He's not, and he's the same way. He's not. What'd they do? They gift him like $1 million in Georgia, and he donated it right back. I mean, how many guys you're going to know that are going to do that? God is not his money. You're not gonna entice him with money. He loves what he's doing. He would do it for free. He would afford another 5 rounds that night for the same money. And I think he could afford another 5 rounds.
Yeah, it looked like he wasn't tired at all.
Yeah, he's not changing. Put it this way, if he changed, it would really, really bother me. That would actually hurt me, because I know what I'm looking at. He's too grounded. It's not happening. The only thing that could screw him up is a woman.
Yeah.
Like they do to everybody.
Right.
I mean, that's the only thing. Money ain't going to do it. But a little taste of a woman, man. I don't know, man. It could
No,
be.
no, never know. Even the
it's
machine might be a little susceptible
some
there.
of the best people down, Anthony. I don't know.
That's true. Was there any moments in that fight where you were starting to get a little bit nervous? Because even I was starting to think, okay, this is not going terrible, but he's definitely down 2 rounds.
Yeah, I tell you, I didn't feel. I knew the rounds were close. I don't think anybody. I think go back and look at the corner. I don't think anybody was worried at all. And I think what happened too. I mean, I don't really care. I had it in my head 4-1. I'm sure if I go back and look at it, that could change. But I think he finished that fight so dominating that I forgot about the first 2 rounds. I was like, this is like crazy. So I remember going into the octagon. I think I go to Wood. I mean, we got to at least have 4 rounds, right? I mean, there's no way they could fuck him on this thing. And he goes, yeah. He nodded his head, yeah. And that was it. And then when I heard 49, 46, 48, 47, I go, all right, I agreed with the one guy, but 48, 47 almost makes that fight look too close. I thought it was a beatdown, to be honest with you.
Especially the last 3 rounds.
Yeah, well, just the way that, look, if you look at body language alone, I know that's not scoring a fight. One guy looked like he was having a blast. The other guy was dying in there.
That's what I was going to say. A lot of times perception's reality. And Merab, I was yelling at my TV. I was like, he's not even breathing heavy.
No.
And these are fantastic rounds for him. And you have Umar, who's kind of doubled over.
Oh,
almost.
When have we seen a Dagestani guy tired? I can't recall a time.
Yeah, well, I think he laid out part of the blueprint. Look, Anthony, these guys are not used to losing. They got a great team. They don't know how to lose, to be honest with you. That's why I think they said some things.
Did you see the crazy number with you put Habib, Umar, Islam, and I think one other cousin? The record is 96-1, and now it's 96, and now it's 97-2.
So they deserve all the respect. But with that, you've got to be able. Here's what, like, Sandhagen made the mistake. Sandhagen did good defensive wrestling. He never went to take. You got to put these guys on the back foot. You got to fight them, and you got to have the skill set to be able to do that. You know what I mean? So Merab's taking him down. He's not taking Merab. I mean, he did take Merab down, but you know what I mean? It's going to be that type of fight. If Merab just fought defensively to defend the takedown, that fight's a way different fight. You know what I mean? So you got to keep the guys on the back foot. They're always used to controlling the pace of the fight, getting what they want, never being, outgunned. And this time they got a taste of their own medicine, and they didn't like it. They did not like it at all. And that was part of my advice, was do not let up on this guy, man. Like, you got to make a statement now, man. Keep it going. Don't let the guy get back in here or whatever. But that's the key. You got to have offensive wrestling to be able to make those guys work. I didn't care. The first 2 rounds, I go, more, just make them work. You know what I mean? If he's going to be dangerous, that's where he's going to be dangerous.
The first 2 rounds, a failed takedown's not really a failure. If he's defending takedowns, he's not getting in his flow.
Listen, Merab, he'll shoot 50 takedowns to get 3. He doesn't give a shit. And Anthony, you know that. And Aljo's a great wrestler. Weidman's a great wrestler. They're not willing to expend the energy this guy is. Weidman, if he got the takedown, he got it. He wasn't going to, zap himself. This guy doesn't care. He just doesn't give a shit, and he'll shoot over and over again. That's frustrating. So even if you have good striking and you got to always defend, your hips, it changes the complexity of everything.
Yeah, it changes your approach for sure. But speaking of, you brought up Weidman and Aljo, and I don't know that. God, I got a tickle in my throat. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know that maybe people are still talking about the room that you guys created in there on Long Island. I mean, how did you end up with? I mean, like, it's you, Matt Serra, Aljamain Sterling, Merab, Chris Weidman, and the list just goes on. There's Quinta and there's Volante. Like, the list goes on and on and on. How did all those people end up, like, right in the same spot, right there with you? And it's not like you pulled people in. These are all locals. Like, these are they're homegrown.
I never reached out. I wouldn't do it now. I never reached out to anybody. They came to the gym. They were all within like 3 miles of the gym. It's a crazy story, but even in talking, I'm so, man, I actually miss those guys. COVID kind of shredded the gym, but man, when we were in there together, that place was hopping, man. And that
It's
just
crazy.
created a buzz. And I think, man, I miss all those guys, because I get credit for being the coach, but it's without those guys behind, I'm not doing anything. It was a really community effort and everybody was gelling, those fights where, I'll be fighting, Weidman's in the front row, vice versa. Dude, I love that shit, man. I love the camaraderie we had. And unfortunately, people get married, they have kids, they got to move. What are you going to do? It's life, right? But when we were on, man, I'll put our team up against anybody. I would have loved to have had the same. It was a big thing, and it was just great to be a part of it. But let me bring up something with Iaquinta too. He fought Khabib on 24 hours notice, and he went 5 rounds with him. But Al can wrestle a little bit too, and he didn't trade into one bit of wrestling for that fight.
I know
he was going to fight Felder. He did stand up. There was going to be no wrestling in that fight like that. So to be able to go 5 rounds with Khabib was incredible. And I think that's part of like when I was looking at even, Umar. You got to put these guys on the back foot, and you got to be able to survive certain situations. And I think it'll change everything.
Right. Well, speaking of Weidman, obviously through the weekend, he kind of announced that he was going to be his time in the UFC was coming to an end, and trying to figure out what's going on with kind of his career. I was talking with Chael in the up in the ESPN suite, and he was talking about kind of the mythical like creature that Chris Weidman was, especially in his heyday, because he was talking about how he had been in there with Anderson, and he knew just how goddamn hard Anderson was to fight and how many problems he created, and then watching what Weidman kind of did to him. And even in the first fight, he was dominating up to the point. Whether Anderson was being funny and got caught, he wasn't winning the moments up to that fight, up to that moment anyways. So I don't know. It was cool to hear someone like Chael talk about just how much of a boogeyman Weidman was to the division, even when Chael was at the top of it.
Listen, I'm going to say this, like, holy shit, Weidman was good, man. When he was coming up, if I could have kept him living in his mother's basement, I don't think he would have ever lost a fight, Anthony. I swear to God. He got a little taste of success, and we both come from, I'm not saying absolutely nothing, but lower middle income. I'm going to say middle income at best. I think he got a taste of that. It kind of maybe he'll argue that point, but whatever. But if I could have kept him, this part, I don't care if he argues. If I could have kept him in his mother's basement, he would have never lost a fight. I don't even care if he was injured. I always say the injuries. But Weidman was that guy, Anthony. He'd go into Henzo's. He cleared a room of black belts. The guy might have been a blue belt. It was so bad one day, I think Danaher, because there was never gi, so it was always no gi. He goes, what belt do you? He said, blue belt. He didn't even want to, he felt bad for the other people. He gave him a brown belt on the spot. He jumped over purple belt. I mean, you got to be that guy that nobody can hang with. If you're really going to be successful, and Merab, technically, I might say, there's certain flaws, but cardio-wise, nobody can hang with him. He will run everybody in the room into the ground. Aljo, I don't know if I've ever seen Aljo lose a round of sparring when he was on. Weidman just would crush people. He'd leave. You got to know nice Weidman, Anthony. You never knew the prick that he fucking was back in the day.
If that's nice Weidman, I don't want any part of what the asshole Weidman was. I tell people all the time because he was struggling a little bit, and we got to know each other just personally, just through our management, through Stipe and all that stuff. And I was like, I'd just love to train with him. But he was, he was having some ups and downs and some mixed success, and as was I. So I was like, well, I'll go down there and we'll train. And he's absolutely got a lot of things that I could learn from. And so I thought, this is Chris Weidman, but I'll be competitive. He beat the absolute fuck out of me for 2 weeks. I don't know that I didn't win not only did I not win a round, I don't know that I won any moments within rounds. And I remember sitting at the 4th day on the side of the mat, and I was looking up at him, shaking my head. He goes, he's like, because he's just goofy. He's like, what? I said, you're a fucking asshole. He was like, what do you mean? I was like, how do you lose? I don't understand. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. How does anybody beat you? I couldn't, my brain couldn't compute it. We grappled, and I was like, I would never wear a black belt in the same room as him. Yeah, it didn't make any sense to me.
Nah, he was that good, man. Over the weekend we got to hang out a lot. he's like, I think he's making a list of people he has to apologize to for leaving him laying in the ring. And he goes, remember this, remember. I go, you're a prick. And I loved it. I fucking loved it. Somebody would tell me that. I go, I want him to be a prick. He's got plenty of time after he retires. He could be the nicest guy in the world, but
right.
you need that type of attitude in this sport. You know what I mean? And it served him well, man. He was something else coming up. And again, talk about the team. So he motivated Aljo. He motivated Merab. There's still young guys in the gym that I would put him through I would make him do MMA and then box 3 rounds right after. Like he'd have to do 3 5s of MMA. Then I brought in a pro boxer and he'd have to box him. And people to this day go, I just can't. I never seen a guy work that hard. You know what I mean? So he was there. He had it. He got, he believed in himself, and it was a great time. But we had a great squad. I'm trying to kind of rebuild now. I got some guys that I think are going to really make some waves, but we'll see what happens. I don't know how much longer I got to go, but I'm going to give it a shot for the next couple of years. But
that's what I was going to ask you next. After these, you've had this historic run, just with. I mean, you're a part of like MMA history, and I've told you this before in person. Like someday we're going to look back, and you're going to look at the Aljo run, and you're going to look at Merab's run, and Weidman, and Crazy Al, and you're going to be the face that's right behind all those guys.
That's crazy.
But do you really want to because I think about me, like when I retire, everyone always says, do you want to coach? Do you want to absolutely not. Because I don't want to start from the beginning with somebody and have to go through the trenches again. Like, are you still looking to do that?
I'm cool with that. No, I'm cool. If I didn't feel that, I'd quit tomorrow. And I'm still good with that. I had my hip replaced, so I feel like I got a new lease on life.
Yeah, you got another 10 years.
Yeah, I think I'm good to go now. I was really on my way out. And I go, wow, this feels great, man. This is insanity. But
you love that grind where you're bringing them up through the regional scene and that nasty, dirty grind.
I never went to bed that night. I went right around the clock, man. I'm starting to go. So I tell Weidman, I go, I just got up. I just finally went to bed. I was up probably 40 hours, whatever the hell it is. Wow. He goes, his advice, you're a man. That proves you're a man. I go, no, that proves I'm a fucking idiot. I wanted to go to sleep.
Yeah, I want to sleep.
Yeah, I had to be at the airport at 5:30 in the morning, but I don't know.
But you still love it as much as you always did.
I still love it as much as I always did.
That's
for real.
Insane.
Yeah, I don't know how. I guess I'm blessed with that, but I'm either blessed or I'm stupid, but I still love it. And, it's motivating when you see you're helping guys get to a point where you're changing their life. I don't know. There's something I like about it. And I would do it over and over again. And I've been burned a couple of times, but I never let it change me,
Well, I mean, Merab seems like he's like this run is just starting, and I don't feel like.
Oh my God, I think
we kind of pulled up the list on the desk when we were doing the post show, and was like, all right, who's next? Like,
yeah, good luck.
I don't know. You showed me a list of people he's already wore the fuck out. So
that's the other problem. He's running out of people. So,
but I seen O'Malley in the airport. He was in front of me in the TSA line.
Next, right?
He said that he thinks that's next, and he seemed excited and motivated about it. It wasn't, again, the media podcast version of O'Malley is a very different version that people would actually get in real life.
Yeah, sure.
He was super polite. He made sure he said hi. I've always really liked O'Malley. He's actually a really good guy.
No. I
he seemed excited.
I don't like the persona, but anytime I've seen him, which is where he's a good dude. I got no problem at all. But
he seemed excited and motivated to get home and get to work. Which would make a lot of sense if you sat front row and watched Merab just do that to kind of the quote unquote boogeyman. I probably would too. But but Aljo's kind of in a different spot though. Like he had this incredible run, and then he had his little he had some hiccups. What do you do? What do you think? I guess if it's he's your guy. Like, what do you do with a guy like Aljo right now?
Well, Aljo, obviously, he moved up to 45, so that's. I think Aljo, man, he
had a tough fight though. That's the toughest guy in the division. It's just the hardest guy to fight. Evloev, the guy just fought.
Mozart,
yeah, Mozart.
I think that fight could have won either. I don't think there was a winner or loser in that fight, man. I'm so proud of Aljo with that. Aljo, even losing the title sucks, but I really think a big burden was lifted off of that guy's shoulders. And everybody's different. He's the complete opposite of Merab. He's very cerebral. And I think he's just at a good spot now. I think he's going to be hard to deal with because he's content where he is. And I've never heard him even talking about fighting as much as he is now, because there's absolutely no pressure on him at all. And I think he's having a great time. And I think we're going to see some big stuff from him still.
I do too. I thought the performance was really good. I think the Mofsar, he's one of my favorite guys to watch. More so because he fights a style that I wish I could. I just can't fight like that guy. Yeah. And I think Aljo's one of the few guys that could kind of shut him down in a lot of those scramble and grappling situations. Yeah. I would watch those guys fight 10 times though. But it sucked that they had to fight. I'd rather see those guys fight like in a number 1 contender fight. It sucked to see it I'd rather see it 5 rounds.
Yeah, it's another good point. That was a really good fight. I love that fight. I look, even what he did to Calvin. He just made that look easy. For that guy's not an easy guy. Not an easy guy. For his first fight moving up, I thought it was fantastic. Yeah,
it was that was a lot of fun. All right, so you didn't get a lot of sleep, so I don't want to keep you too long, but I'm sure Kelly's got something for you before we kick you out of here.
I do want to go back to the Umar fight because as a fan, I have my answer, but I'd love to know as his coach. When Merab starts doing the showboating in the octagon, I love it. I love Merab. I love to see him happy. As a fan, it just lets you know he feels good in there. You, though, as his head coach, what are your thoughts when he starts doing that?
Well, first off, I just want to do this because John Wood really has been coaching him the last couple of plays. He does a great job. I don't want to take away any shine from what he's been doing because, he puts in a lot of time too. I'm really just at this point kind of showing up, working the corners. But as his coach, I'm not a big fan of the showboating. But in this fight, why I loved it, because I think it was just breaking him down. I think he broke him down physically. And by that showboating against certain guys, a guy like Umar, I think mentally it incapacitated him. I mean, he's getting humiliated. The guy's laughing at him. So as much as I'm not a big fan of that from a psychological warfare stance, I think it was absolutely fantastic. And that's why I say, even if Umar would have if the judges were drunk and got the decision, is that the fight you want to win? The guy's looking all over the place. He's putting you down, laughing at you, putting you down again, running around. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a freaking fist fight. This guy looks like he's shopping at the grocery store. He's having a great time. I don't know. So I'm not a big fan of showboating, but the way he's doing it, knowing him, I do kind of like it.
Circumstantial showboating.
Circumstantial, I like it. Yeah.
And the crowd was loving it. It just feels like the perception of Merab has really flipped. People I feel like used to groan when he was fighting and he'd, takedown after takedown after takedown, or at least attempting them. Whereas now he's getting, cheered through the roof. And I'm sure part of it is his caliber of opponent is fantastic. And he just seems to run through everybody. But he's also just a fun dude. When I was producing Chris Weidman's show, we had him on a couple of times and just the way he talks and the shit he posts on social media, he's a fun guy. Yeah, he's literally a great guy. But Kelly, one thing too is that when he's doing that, it's organic. That's the other thing. It's not forced. It's organic. It's in the moment. I think that makes it acceptable to me. You know what I mean? He's not going in there looking to do that. But when he gets the opportunity, it seems like the timing is always perfect. Even what he did to O'Malley, starts kissing him. Imagine being a grown man and the guy's on top of you. And come on, Anthony, you got it. It's got to mean something. And the guy's kissing you, and you can't do nothing about it.
And all you want to do is punch him in the face. And he just keeps taking you down, and he won't stop, and he's in your grill the whole time, and then he's kissing you on your back. Oh man! I mean, look, I think it works for him because it does very much seem organic. I think you touched on that. Right. It's got to be organic.
I think that was O'Malley's best shot. Merab thought the round was over. He let him up, and O'Malley charged at him and punched him in the head.
That was the cleanest shot he landed the whole fight.
That's the cleanest shot he landed.
Yeah, I really am in awe of Merab every time I watch him fight, and I know his pace and his cardio are things that we talk about all the time, not even when it's just Merab Dvalishvili fight week. But when I saw it on Saturday night, it was hard to be more impressed with him than I was after that fight. And obviously as his coach and someone who's known him for so long and as somebody who's around him all the time, do you ever just sit there kind of in that and have that astonishment or that awe of just how relentless he is?
I do. I know the guy for 12, 15 years. I'm starting to think he's not human. I'm blown away. I'm with you. I'm blown away. Each fight, every fight, I'm blown away with this guy. And I've watched him grow up, so I'm really blown away.
I couldn't believe it going into the third or fourth round. Just watching his growth and kind of where his popularity has come from. And we watched earlier in the card, guys get takedowns and people being successful in the grappling and the whole arena booing them. Because all they want to see, it's just the just bleed people.
Yeah.
Every takedown Merab gets, the crowd in the arena goes wild. Goes absolutely. It's like he's made people not care about what kind of style he fights. Because I was at the Jose Aldo fight when he couldn't get it. He couldn't he couldn't buy a takedown at the concession stands if they were selling them, and he got booed out of that arena. He fights the exact same way.
Yes.
With a different personality, like a different, like people are looking at him. It's the same personality. It's the same guy. It's the same style. It's the same aggression. It's the same tenacity. And now people love him. And he had that one single leg. He snapped it down and kind of ran the pipe and then walked away.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Like, I mean, that's people went crazy. Like he knocked someone out. That was the most technically wrong thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Where he gets the takedown but says, "Fuck it, I don't really want it." I just want to throw you down and make you get back up again, and then walk away like a thug. And people go crazy.
Even if the game plan is to take a guy down, let him up, the way he did that and the message he sent out was just total disrespect.
It's disrespectful.
And so, in that moment, that was
to a Dagestani monster.
A Dagestani monster.
To get cracked down like that, and then you flop on your back and you look up and he's walking away. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Back in the day, like if you were from Russia in the Olympics and you lost, there was a saying, the guy's going to the gulag. You're never going to see the guy again. It's a rough place to lose. Very rough place to lose, Somebody was asking me about his hand. I go, I didn't see anything in the fight, but because he lost, I wouldn't be surprised if they smashed it with a hammer in the back. I mean, this guy, I feel bad for Umar. I think he's in trouble. I mean, he's definitely, again, they're not used to losing. And I hope he's all right, that kid.
Yeah. I'm sure that it's got to be painful, to be the only, one of the only guys on the team.
God, man, imagine
the only guy that's lost in the last how many years? Can you imagine having to walk back to that locker room?
No. No way. I hope he has some loving people around him because that's what he's going to need. He needs a hug, that kid. I'm sure he's getting his brains beat in.
Right. Well, if you weren't a Merab fan before Saturday night, I'm sure you are now. I don't know how you can't be because even on the feet, he was getting in there, making it a car crash, getting back out, attempting a takedown, getting back in there, car crash, rinse, recycle, repeat, whatever the hell they say. It was absolutely insane. And that's a credit to you, Coach John Wood, and, the whole team that Merab has surrounding him.
Aljo does a fantastic job with him, too. Don't leave Aljo out. He's been with that kid for the last 12 years. And Aljo's really responsible for changing his wrestling. 1,000,000%. Because he couldn't do that with Aljo when he first came to the gym. He had to learn, the other style of wrestling. His, the Sambo was Aljo was too savvy to it. And Aljo really took him under his wing, and that's why I would never be behind. I don't like friends fighting. I know you said everybody likes to see it.
Yeah, I think the fans do. I don't like it either.
Even Jones and Rashad, they were friends. They ain't friends now. I mean, it's stupid. For what? Right. $300,000. That's going to change. That's not life-changing money.
Actually, you know what? That reminds me of something. There's one last thing I wanted to bring up, but you reminded me of this. After Weidman and I fought together on the last card. The next day, I texted him and I said, "Hey man, you think you're going to go one more time?" And he said, "Oh, I don't know yet." And I said, "Well, if you do, let me know. I have an idea." And so he texted me back. He told me. And he says, "What's the idea?" And I said, "Well, if you're going to fight again, then I'll fight one more time, and then let's just do it together." and then we can sail off into the sunset. You know what I mean? And we'll just do it. In my head, I'm thinking we'll do a training camp together. We'll train together. We'll see if we get on the same card, and then we'll go. But I didn't say that. I did say we'll do it together. Let's just do it together, and then we'll sail off. Yeah. He said, yeah. The text response was like, yeah, man, cool. Like, I'll, just keep me posted. And that was it. And I didn't hear from him. And then we got the same manager. So Sarah hits me up. She was like, this is like a month later. She goes, you weren't trying to fight Weidman, were you? And I go, what? No. Why would I want to fight Weidman? He's like, we're friends. She goes, well, he was thinking back about that text message. Oh, no wonder he's been so quiet. He thought I was saying that him and I should fight.
Okay, that's where my brain went to. So I'm more like Chris than I think.
No,
clearly.
He asked me, he goes, what do you think of that? He definitely thought that's what you were saying.
What? I wish he would have said that.
He never told me that's not what you meant either. He left me hanging like that.
No, that's not what I meant at all. So a couple weeks ago, Sarah says, you didn't want to fight Weidman, did you? I said, absolutely not. I told the whole goddamn world I've never won one moment of one round with Weidman. Why the fuck would I ever want to fight that guy? That sounds like the worst idea in the world to retire on. Like,
that's funny.
Not a goddamn chance. And I love Weidman, and our wives are friends, and like, he's cooked me steak dinner. Why would I ever want to fight Weidman? That doesn't make any sense. And she was like, well, he was like kind of worried about it. It was like bothering him. And I'm like, oh, that's Weidman for you though, because he won't actually say anything. He'll just let it fester.
Yeah. Well, that was him and Volante's way of handling adversity when they just wouldn't pick up the phone when somebody they didn't like called.
Right.
Volante's like, that was a game plan for them. Are you kidding me? I go, you got to talk to the guy. He goes, I ain't picking up the phone.
That's crazy. But the last thing for me, Ray, I seen a picture today that really kind of resonated with me. It was a picture of Aljo wearing the title. And in the background, it was actually just a picture being taken of Aljo, but in the background is Merab. And he's got a couple people around him, and he has the biggest smile on his face looking at Aljo. And you can tell like he's genuinely happy.
Oh my God. And then, dude, it's hard to find those guys, Anthony. I'm telling you. It is. That.
Well, then below that picture is another picture, and it's Merab wearing the title, and it's Aljo in the background looking at Merab. Genuinely, it was the coolest picture.
I think I got a different take on it. I really believe he was looking at Sanko's ass. I don't think he was looking at Merab at all.
Now I'll be
honest with you. I want to give the guy credit, but I'm saying he wasn't looking at Merab. I know the picture you're talking about.
It could be though. It could be. It's likely Laura though.
No, listen, those guys. That's why I never wanted them to fight, man. You have to know what they've been through together. It's not just two guys in the gym. It's way beyond that. And
they would have just been wrong. It never.
You got to see the history of it, though.
Right?
Yeah,
from the beginning.
I seen them spar 100 times. That's not a fight. It's not even. They couldn't make a good fight for the fans like that in either way. You know what I mean? Like it's not. That whole thing was stupid. But again, I think there's certain people that think other people are going to buckle for money. That's all that matters. Money. Nobody gives a fuck, man. You know what I mean? People are content sometimes. It's your relationship with money. That's the key. And Merab's got a great relationship with money. And you're not going to get him to come outside himself for an extra 300,000 or 200,000 or even $1 million. So that's one of the things I love about him.
All right, Ray. Well, thank you so much, man, for coming on here and being the first guest. I always love having these conversations.
Yeah, that's good, man.
I'm going to find you a gift. So hopefully, I'd like to bring those, I got those young guys that I brought with me to
nice guys.
To Long Island. So I'd like to come down and just hang out for a week and do some training. So let's stay in touch.
That anytime, man.
Awesome. I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
We're so appreciative. So happy for all of the success for you and your team and your guys. Love the relationship you've all built. And I've just seen a smidge of it, of you guys, the way you guys talk to each other. And it's fantastic. So excited to see what everybody has coming up next.
Awesome. I really appreciate you guys having me on, and have a great weekend. Have a great week and a great weekend coming up.
Yes, sir.
Take it easy, guys.
All right, and it wouldn't be a UFC 311 recap without talking about the light heavyweights. We spent so much time on them last week, and right from the beginning of this Yuri Prochazka Jamahal Hill fight, it had big fight feel to it when they were staring at each other, when Yuri was outside the octagon and Jamahal was already inside the octagon, to right before the announcer came in and, you know, gave the rules and the whole ref ordeal. That just had
which
big
is funny
feel all over it.
because that doesn't happen at that point of the night. Like where they came together and the referee talked to them, that only happens in the main event or a title fight.
Exactly. I was going to say, you only really see that in a title fight. And it felt, I was
main
texting,
event and title fight. Yeah.
I was texting a couple of people and I was like, this feels like a title fight.
It was crazy. It's the only fight that I came down and I watched cage side. Obviously, I went down and hung out in Jamal's locker room for like the last probably 20 minutes before 30 minutes before he walked, and he just had a little bit of a different vibe about him that I'd seen before. Again, I'm not making excuses for Jamahal. Just being very clear, I absolutely have a biased view. If you take out the couple minutes he was in there with Alex Pereira, he hasn't fought any amount of time since he fought Glover Teixeira.
Yep.
So I do think he had a little bit of ring rust that he was trying to shake off, and I could sense that in the locker room. Like, just hasn't done this a bunch of times in a while. You know, he was fairly active, and once he got hurt, it's been a little bit. And so he had a little bit of a different vibe. Seemed hyper focused. You know, he went out, he made the walk, and then I walked out and sat there, and Yuri's like that feel before Yuri got in, and it was like two titans. Like the octagon didn't feel like it was big enough. It was crazy. And then when Yuri
like
got
in like the Coliseum, like,
yeah, like we're like
this about to go down.
Yeah, this cage isn't big enough to contain these two guys.
Yep.
And it's so funny. Like Yuri's got this, I don't know, this aura about him where he's just like this maniac, you know, where he's just this samurai. And Jamahal has a very similar type of feel, but it's different, you know, where he doesn't give a fuck. He's ready to just absolutely throw down. So it's the same feel from them both, but they're different personalities. And both of them think the other guy is a douchebag. Like,
sure.
Everyone else is like, oh my God, are you seeing this? You got this guy and this guy, and they're going to clash it. But both of them are like, you're a goddamn cornball. Like,
sure.
They don't respect each other like competitively at all. And you could tell right away when it started, like they came to the center and there wasn't enough air in the room for both of them is how it felt. It was crazy. It was a crazy feel. And I thought early Jamahal was a bit hesitant, which makes a lot of sense because he is coming off of, a knockout loss. Until you take a big shot in a real fight, you're going to be a little bit tentative. So he was, I don't want to say gun shy, but he was a little bit hesitant. He wasn't as, he wasn't as aggressive and as forward moving as I expected him to be.
Mm-hmm.
But Yuri's a different type of style and a different guy. I thought Jamahal looked absolutely great. And I'm telling you that to tell you that I think Yuri looked even better. He defensively, he's really leveled up. His head movement was there. Typically, Yuri's there to be hit on the exit. So offensively, he's great. He'll come in at funky angles, crazy diversity of strikes, crazy power, but he's there to be hit on the way out.
Right. By doing that, he leaves himself open.
He leaves himself open on the exit, and he didn't at all. He moved his head. He was slipping. He was switching stances on the exit, hitting angles. And I didn't expect that out of him because we've never seen him do it before.
Right.
So that was surprising. At Jamahal, I think it threw Jamahal off too, because I think Jamahal expected to find him easier. And so I thought Jamahal made a great adjustment into the second round. You can move your head all you want, but your body's going to stay in the same spot.
Yep.
So Jamahal started going to the body and was really starting to slow Yuri down a little bit. He slowed the pressure down, was able to get his own forward pressure going. And then Yuri kind of flipped the script and he started going to Jamal's body in the third. And it's such a smart move. Like if someone's doing something to you, just do the exact same thing back to them. And a lot of times they'll stop doing it. And so I actually learned that early on in my career. I had a guy that was throwing nasty teep kicks to my body. And I had a coach go, kick him back. So I teep kicked him back and he never kicked me again. Like It's almost like, yeah, like if you don't like something, sometimes you just do it to them, they'll stop doing it. And that's kind of what Yuri did. Jamahal started going to the body, and so did Yuri, and so Jamahal stopped. And it's super smart. Jamal's got a couple adjustments he's going to have to make, and it's actually the same adjustment that Yuri made. Jamahal was expecting him to be there on the exit, and because he was waiting for Yuri to be there on the exit, he was there.
Well, so I have a couple thoughts here. Initially, when I was watching the fight, it reminded me a lot of you, because we always talk about how you always get the best version of your opponent. You expect them to gas out because they go, crazy in rounds 1 and the first half of round 2. And for some reason, they have the best cardio they've ever had the day they fight you. On Saturday night, we talk about Yuri as this reckless guy who, like you said, has these crazy funky moves and leaves himself open to be hit. But the defense was there on Saturday.
He wasn't as crazy. He didn't really spin.
He
didn't really spin. He didn't really. He
didn't get cute. Like he fought a sound fight.
He threw lots of straight punches, not a shit ton of hooks. The hooks he threw were on the inside while anybody was covering and countering as Jamahal was throwing. Every shot Jamahal got dropped with, it was in the middle of him punching.
Because it felt like he was swinging for the fences. Like after being a little gun shy a little bit, it felt like he was swinging for the fences, finding himself off balance from doing that, and then getting caught.
Which is something that Jamahal and I talked about even in the locker room before. I'm like, with a guy like Yuri, you got to bring your feet with you. Like we can't reach, you can't overextend. Like he's gonna feel like he's way further away than he is. If it feels like that, then you got to bring your feet with you instead of trying to reach him. Because otherwise because Yuri's gonna swing hard on the counters. The difference was Yuri didn't swing hooks first. He went straights first and then hooks as Jamahal started to throw. It was a smart game plan. And I thought Jamahal made really good adjustments. It just wasn't enough. He was taking big shots early. So he just didn't quite have enough time there was no feeling out process. They just started throwing. And so he was already kind of compromised early on in the fight. From then on, you're never going to take a hard shot as well as you did from the very beginning. So honestly, I don't have any real knocks on either one of them. Jamal's got some things that we got to shore up, and we got to close up some things. I thought it was good to finally get, a fight with some link to it. So we got some more data at a high level, because there wasn't a whole lot to take from the Pereira fight. Like
for either of them. Yeah.
Like you got clipped. Like I can tell you why, but what led up to, like, the sample size was too small. I can't fix that. We can't talk about it as a team. The coaches can't go through and it's just not enough. I have a decent sample size now. I got a great point. I have an idea of, okay, we're going to go to Danny. We're going to go to Chad. We're going to go to Justin and say, we got to fix this, this, and this, and this. So now we have a game plan. Like I can help him and create a game plan. So this is what you got to fix. So there's really no negative there. Yuri, I thought Yuri looked great. He's really developed and gotten better. Even coming off of his second title fight loss. I thought it was great. I thought the fight was great across the board. I don't got really anything negative to say about either guy.
Yeah, I agree. I had it 1-1 going into the third. I texted you about this. I was really impressed with Jamal's recovery time. Even after he got dropped, even for a bigger guy, he popped right back up. Obviously, you can only take so many shots and recover so many times in 15 minutes. And that certainly caught up to him because he was taking a lot of damage early.
He took him off balance too. So he kind of got caught on his heels and in the middle of throwing. So, I mean, they were definitely much more impactful than they would have been had he been grounded and covered and ready to take that shot. Again, either way, I thought both those guys had a great showing. You can lose and still not lose any stock. And I don't think Jamahal lost any stock. And I thought Yuri's really skyrocketed. Yeah, so I think for Jamahal, it's a positive all the way around. It's great for the division. Yeah, it's great for the division. I want Jamahal to take some rest, and I want him to get back in there. Because now, okay, we got a sample size. Let's start working on it. Let's get back in there so you feel comfortable. Let's not take a bunch of time off, be out for a year. And, obviously there's some time where you got to be kind of careful because you did take some big shots. But, we've been, we texted back and forth, and he's good. He's in a good place, and just got to fix it.
Good. I was going to ask if you had gotten a chance to speak to him. But
yeah, we fix it and we go again.
I love it. Yeah, you did mention Danny. Shout out Danny Molina in the corner of Jamahal Hill. Very exciting to see. We always see him in your corner, but to see him in Jamal's was pretty cool. It's pumped for that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy for Danny. I'm glad that his skill set's being utilized. They actually just looked over, my phone vibrated and got a text from Danny. So we'll see what that guy's talking about. I'm sure it's nothing important.
Oh gosh, I'm sure it's something very important. Well, I do want to get to
a fight.
Who?
I can't tell you who. What are you talking about?
Wait, you took a fight?
Yeah.
Look at you burying the lead on your own show.
Yeah, I just thought about it, actually. Because I'm wondering if that's what he's texting
Your
me
name's
about.
in the title.
Yeah, it's true. I just thought about it. Yeah, me and Mick Maynard. It probably the fastest deal that's ever been done in a UFC fight.
Can I make a suggestion? And obviously, I know you won't, but don't confirm or deny.
Okay.
If you fought that Guskov guy,
yeah,
whether you won or lost, we could gaslight people into thinking you won because there is a resemblance there. So it's a win-win for you. I don't hate it. It'd be a lot of fun.
I think that guy's kind of funny too. Like he's always, he's fun. Like he really thinks I'm afraid of him though. He thinks I'm like duck. Yeah. I don't know what he's talking about. He says he's gotten a bunch of fight offers to fight me. I've gotten one fight offer to fight him and then I accepted it. And then I ended up fighting Reyes. They came back and they said, "Oh, it's not going to work. We got Reyes for you." So okay, whatever. Like I got offered. It's always fun when I can say this stuff later. I got offered Azamat Mirzakhanov.
Yep.
I accepted it, and then that fight, I don't know, just disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were like, "Yeah, it's just not happening." So okay, whatever. Then it popped up that he failed his drug test. They're like, "Oh, well, that's where that fight went." After the Azamat thing disappeared, they offered me Guskov, that Bogdan guy. I accepted it. Never heard anything from it. And they came back and like, "Yeah, that fight's gone. We got Dominic Reyes." So whatever. So it took me 3 opponents to get to Reyes.
I mean, listen.
So I know that he thinks like, I don't know. He says he's been offered me several times. Like I'm telling you guys, I've turned down one fight in my whole career, and it's not been recently.
So
and it wasn't any of these guys.
There's already a little bit of heat there.
There's no heat. I think that guy's cool.
Cut their job in half.
He thinks I'm afraid of him. I get it. I'm not afraid of him. I was watching him fight. I'm like, is this what I was supposed to be afraid of? You're going to little spoon me for 5 minutes? Like, you can't do that.
Sounds like heat to me. Deny it all you want. Nah. It's Anthony Smith versus Anthony Smith. The production team's job is
that's not who I'm fighting. That's not who I'm fighting. But Mick Maynard texted me and said, "Hey, come down here." So I walked. Me and ESPN security went down there. I sat next to Mick Maynard. We had a 5-minute conversation, shook hands, and we're good. We're rolling. One more.
All right. Well, everybody subscribe.
What kind of sucks is I just gave you nothing. Like,
well, I'm not saying subscribe for this groundbreaking news because the ground's still intact. I'm saying
we just wasted 5 minutes and it was a big nothing at the end of it because I can't tell you when, I can't tell you who. It sucks. Can't tell you where.
That's why you shouldn't have confirmed or denied.
I shouldn't even have brought it up.
It could have been fun.
Shouldn't even have brought it up.
Well, let's get to some fights that we have confirmed.
Okay.
And one comes in your division. We mentioned it briefly when talking about the light heavyweights, but we do have the light heavyweight title fight. It was announced on the UFC 311 broadcast. So UFC 313 main event, Alex Pereira taking on Magomed Ankalaev. Ankalaev's the rightful title challenger. He probably should have been in there already at some point. What do you make on paper? How do these two match up?
Okay, sorry, I'm coughing over here. What do I make of it? I mean, he's the rightful guy. He's the next guy. He deserves it. I don't like the narrative that we're gonna have going into this fight, where it's got this Dagestani wrestler versus this incredible striker. He's not gonna wrestle. He's not. I would put money on it right now. He doesn't shoot a takedown unless he's like on his way to being unconscious. That man is not going to shoot. There was one takedown attempt that happened in my fight with him, and I'm the one who shot. Like, he's not going to wrestle. He said it. You have to look no further than his own words. I will not. He has no reason for me to think he's a liar. So he's a great striker. He really is. He's very fundamentally sound. He's a big problem on his feet because he doesn't do a lot. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that more as I'm trying to be careful here because I don't want people to think I'm talking shit. Like, he's basic, but it's not a negative thing. It's straight.
No matter what.
It's straight punches. He's got a good jab. He's got a nice check hook. He doesn't get wild. He'll attack the legs at times. He won't overdo it, but it's always a threat. He manages range really well. He's not overly aggressive. He won't get outside of himself. He doesn't do enough to make a bunch of mistakes. So he's never out of position.
Sure.
Which creates a big problem. And he's got power in his hands. He hits hard enough. He'll knock out a grown man if he needs to. So I favor Alex in this matchup because he is so fundamentally sound. That's very easy for Alex because like Yuri Prohaska is going to give Alex more problems because he's more he's unpredictable. It doesn't look right. You got to kind of feel it out. You got to check the range. Punches are coming from all over the place. His hands are down. He'll spin. It's tough. Khalil Roundtree, like crazy explosive, incredible athlete, creates a bunch of different problems and it looks a little bit different when you're in front of him.
Yep.
Ankalaev is like, you understand what he's doing. Now he's very good and like you have to be able to handle it and deal with it, but it looks right. Like it's comfortable standing in front of him. And I mean that is you know exactly what you're looking at and you know what you're getting. Now can you deal with it? That's yet to be seen. Like you got to figure that out on the fly. But there's no secrets, I guess. So like the right comes after the left, the hook is going to come with the uppercut. Like it's just it's correct. Everything he does is right and he's always in position. I think that's going to be a better situation for Alex Pereira to deal with.
Well, I'm always excited to watch that man fight. He was my 2024 fighter of the year for what it's worth. Mm-hmm. But we also got the co-main of UFC 313. We talked about it earlier in the show. Grinning from ear to ear. It'll be Justin Gaethje taking on Dan Hooker in a 5-round fight. And just violence is the word that comes to my mind. I'm really excited to see Justin get back in there. I love a good Dan Hooker fight. I never really thought about these two fighting. I don't know why, but I am absolutely pumped for this.
I've always wanted these two guys to fight. Both their styles are just fan appealing.
Yep.
You know exactly what you're getting with both guys. Dan Hooker just fought Gamrot, correct? That was his last fight. What a tough guy to beat. Let's not forget Gamrot beat Arman Sarukian. His last loss.
3-fight win streak for Hooker. Claudio Puelles, Jalen Turner, and Gamrot.
Right, and Jalen Turner is a great win too. I think we know what we're getting there. We're getting ultimate violence. We're going to get two guys that are going to come forward and they're going to swing for the fences. I really like this kind of run that Dan Hooker's on. It's things are falling his way, and he's been in there with some real. Jalen Turner and Gamrot are impossible to deal with. Like those are two totally opposite styles, and he's figured it out. So he's really on the rise, and then we're going to see Justin Gaethje come back and try to kind of erase that Max Holloway loss. And I don't suspect he fights any different. I think we're going to get the same exact Justin Gaethje.
I hope so. And I'm looking forward to him getting back in there post the Max Holloway fight. I know a lot of people enjoyed that. I was not one of them. Love Max, but not that much because that wasn't a great night for me. But yeah, both of those fights should be fantastic. I feel stupid
kind of talking about a Justin Gaethje Dan Hooker fight, like trying to break it down. Like, who gives a shit?
It's just going to be awesome.
Yeah, like when I work it, like they're going to say, well, who's going to win? Like, who's the better striker and who's going to slip and rip? And like, who gives a shit? Who cares? Let's just watch it. Like, let's just build up the fact that they're doing it. Let's not get too wrapped up into let's not get too deep in the forest about, who's the technically better guy here and who's the better kicker and whose footwork is better. Like, who gives a shit? No,
this is one I actually hope lasts long. Because I feel like it's going to be so exciting, and I'm hoping
let's just fill the octagon with gas. Let's light it on fire and just see what happens.
I'm very much debating going out to Vegas for this one because I do love Pereira.
It'd be a good one.
Love Gaethje, and yeah,
we do a live podcast.
Yeah, that could be really fun.
Yeah,
because obviously you'll be there.
Do it like at a bar somewhere or something. Have people come and hang out.
That'd
be cool.
All right, now we got to figure it out now that it's been put out there.
Have to.
All right, and that's about all we have for today. Big thanks to Ray Longo for joining us. First guest.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
Figured out a gift.
I know. I'm gonna give him something. That's a big deal to have Ray Longo on.
He's
when I came into this game, And you would have, like, if you would have told me Ray Longo is going to be the first guest on your podcast and you guys are going to be, you know, you're going to train and hit pads with him and hang out, like, I'd be like, no way, you're crazy. So that's the crazy thing for me. That's cool.
I think Longo and his team, like, their success kind of gets lost sometimes. They really are such a storied franchise. And I think a lot of times people just see them as a couple dudes from Long Island, you know?
I still get weird when, like, I'll do the Unfiltered podcast with Matt Serra.
Yeah.
I still get like, no, it's Matt Serra. I don't know why. I just get so weird. Like, that guy knocked out GSP. I don't know. It's just crazy.
No, they're
such a high level black belt.
Yeah. So it was great to have Ray talking about Merab. Maybe we'll get Merab soon. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But that pretty much does it for us today. Obviously, like, subscribe, leave a comment, follow us on social media at the On Paper Pod, and we'll see you next week. Maybe Anthony will be able to announce who he's fighting.
That'd be cool. Maybe we can talk about it. That'd be nice. All right. I will see you next week. We partner with HomaFight Picks to get you the most accurate and well-researched fight predictions. They do all the legwork so you can focus on winning. Picks will be sent directly to your phone via text or email. It's totally up to you. The second we upload them. Use code Lionheart to get 7 free days at winnable.com/HOF picks. That's WINIBLE.com/HOF picks.
With Anthony Smith.